But when men sit alone in their setup, because no one will do that, when there's a traditional ceremony, I've noticed that because most of the time I would sit with them. There's always a leader in that pack. That would be more people who sit with the chief on that community. But when those chiefs sit in their setting, again, there's going to be a king or people who sit with the king. One of the biggest problems that we've been making is that we're discussing challenges that are supposed to be fixed by those men, but we don't include them. So I think the quickest way, or like to get these things done, we need to have sessions where we sit with the kings, right? Once the king calls it, no one else would disagree, even in their own families. But most people don't realize that. They would rather want to convince Mike, who is the head of the family. But they don't understand that whatever Mike will come up with, if the king approves, Mike will definitely do it. But if the king disapproves, they're not going to do it. During COVID, they were actually in South Africa, we were supposed to be doing these initiation schools, right? So if the government went straight to the people, they were going to do them anyway. If they said, don't do it, they won't listen. I know for a fact that my tribe, they would not listen to the president. He is a president. If he speaks everywhere, people will listen. But if he can come to my community and say, do not do this, they're not going to listen. But the president understands such dynamics, right? So what he did, he went to the king and said, we need people to stop doing this and this. They must stop being in groups and all that. And then the king made an announcement, and I've never seen such discipline in my community, simply because the king was involved. So these issues, we need to make sure that we also use the right approach, get the kings involved. But also, we must not forget one thing. The king might act all strong in front of us, but at the end of the day, the king listens to the queen. Yeah, that's true. That's why I normally encourage young people where I come from to say, guys, you must learn to play chess. Because if you play chess, you understand that the whole game or life is about protecting the king. But if you do not value your queen, you're never going to win the game. So the queen is the most sharpest and intelligent piece you can find on the chessboard. So if the queen is not happy, the king is never going to be happy. Because the queen doesn't even have to speak too much, right? She can just keep quiet and say, okay, do your thing. The king will know.
I like your response, though, to the idea that, because I was suggesting get the elder religious leaders, but you're right. In traditional societies, like you're talking like South Africa, where the king of the ethnic groups or the people still exists, that would be the next level. I mean, that would be, and you know what? Pillow talk is what you were talking about. The queen, we can get to the queen. The women can tell the queen, we need to work on the king to do this. I mean, that's a strategy. That is a good strategy to have, given the experience. We have two more hands, and then we have two more hands. Yes.
I'm going to say, actually, we don't have time for maybe one more. And then after that, we'll be here for some informal conversations.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I've kept Peter and Jan don't know it yet, but I've given you an assignment. I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
One more short conversation, and then we will, there's a final clip, favorite clip that we want to see on the video. And then we want to release people for food, but we will be coming to you for your thoughts and impressions. And also, after that final one, I wanted Felista to have a chance to introduce her work that she's doing.
Who's that? Oh, okay, so we have one other possibility. Since a man is spoken, now it's time for a woman. So I saw your hand in the air with the go. Yes, you will be the last.
Thank you. I'm from Kenya. It reminded me of home when I could watch the film. And
based still on the strategies to use, it depends on the reason for the mutilation. I come from a community where we have mutilation. I did not go through it, but I have cousins and friends who went through it. I'm from the Kikuyu community in Kenya. The reason we do it is to prevent the girl from being carried away by the adolescent hormones and maybe get pregnant. So in the Kikuyu community, it was done to prevent the girl from getting early pregnancy. So mostly it is the women who will take the girl because they will be blamed for if the girl makes maybe untimely decisions. So I have a friend, a close friend, whose dad is educated. He actually works in the hospital, but the mom did not go to school. But the girl went through mutilation. And the girl went up to university level. She was educated. The parents know the importance of education because the dad is also an undergraduate. So, but they took their girl for mutilation. When my mom was conversing with the mother to the girl, the mother told her, I took her because I did not want her to bring maybe shame to my home. So that one, okay, we were discussing with my mom, and it came out that, so a woman is afraid that her girl would go through, maybe will get pregnant at the time that is not supposed to. But surprisingly, the girl got pregnant first year, but she had gone through the process. So sometimes it's because the reason that the mutilation is being done may not be may not bring that the fruit, the result that is desired. So for me, the reason I'm saying is that we need to know why the mutilation is being done, because like from my community, it is to prevent early marriage or early pregnancy. So it is the women who need to be educated more because they spend more time with this guy. Yeah, but for other communities, it is the man because maybe he needs a woman who is mutilated to marry. So it all depends on the reason it is being done. For others, it is a curse. Maybe a grandfather left a curse that all the girls in my lineage should go through mutilation. So it all depends on the reason it is being done. Thank you.
Felisa.
Oh yeah, thank you so much. I'm Felicitas from Zambia. I'm a girl child education activist. We are all here talking about women issues, but I believe that without an educated girl, we cannot have an independent woman. So it all begins on the grassroots. In Zambia, we say imitikula empanga. We can simply say girls today, women and leaders tomorrow. So specifically, I work with the girls and young women, especially the teen mothers, those who have been victims of early marriages and teenage pregnancies. And we do a lot of work in encouraging the girls to stay focused with their education. Because I come from a community where there is rampant early marriages and teenage pregnancies. And in my community, a woman with a PhD, a professor, is not valued like a woman who is married. So like marriage is one of the greatest accomplishments. You can only be recognized if you are a married woman and with so many children, whether they're educated or not, it doesn't matter. So we are trying to combat the issue of early marriages and teenage pregnancies through girl child education advocates, and also we run different campaigns like the Send the Girls Back to School campaign, so that we make the parents realize the importance of girl child education. And we are also trying hard to ensure that our voice as girls is heard, to make sure that the girls stand, and whenever they voice out, they should have that ability to say that they are in charge of their future. We suffer a lot of exploitation because most of the times the fate of a girl child is determined by the parents. And most parents, they don't care. All they're interested in is marrying off the girl, get the bride class, then it ends there. And when you look at that issue of early marriages and teenage pregnancies, it is contributing to many aspects of gender-based violence. Another thing in my community is that whenever a girl or a wife is going through so many challenges, wife battering and many other things, they are trained not to cry. We just heard something from the clip where we said, pain is part of us, you see? Like in my tradition, they'll say when a man beats you or slaps you, just get a glass of water and drink. Don't swallow the water, just keep the water in the mouth. What's the main teaching of that? You keep the voice low. You shouldn't voice out. But how can you be assisted? When someone is beating you, whether he's using a knife or a very dangerous object, you just remain quiet. So that really contributed to a lot of death and many other bad vices. So really, I believe in the power of unity. And this issue, we can't just fight it alone as women. It all goes back to the men. If the men can understand the values of a woman, the quality of a good wife is beyond mutation.
Yes.
Yeah. In the eastern part of Africa, there is cutting, but for my community, it has more to do with pulling. Our common mutation that side is pulling. A man is trained to believe that a good wife is one whose labia minora has been pulled. Others, they'll pull as long as 10, 15 centimeters. They believe that's how great a woman should be, which is somehow a psychological torture. And it really distorts the sensation of a woman. So those are really bad vices. But I believe if we can get together, united, we speak with one voice, we can bring it to an end. We are just recovering from the issue of COVID-19. We saw the response from so many countries in trying to open the world. And because we work together as one, we spoke the same voice against combating COVID-19, we are back now. There was no physical interacting, but we are interacting because we got united and stood against COVID-19. If we can use that same force, that same energy that we use to combat COVID-19, I believe these battles cannot take very long. If we can fight COVID in 2 years, we can do massive work. It all lies in the hand of who? Unit.
Thank you.
Stand together, speak to the same voice.
Sorry? Okay, well, to close out, right, this discussion. All right, because I did take a couple of notes that I think we should reiterate or mention. And of course, we love men. We know men are key. We want to leave here knowing and saying it wherever we are. Because when we talk about women and you begin to think about women, people assume you are not thinking about men at all, or men don't matter. So this conversation, men must be included. I think that is one thing. The other thing that I wanted to mention is the whole idea of, and I think all of you mentioned this, how we raise our boys and girls. And most of the traditional societies where this happens, there is a rite of passage. And there's not so much a curriculum, but there are things that happen in rites of passage. I think with the rites of passage, that all these societies, and even ours, should begin to have something in there that teaches that women and men are equal, they have the same freedoms, and they should have the same opportunities. That should be integrated in, because you mentioned it, Dolo, about boys' education as well. And so I think in the rite of passage especially, there needs to be something there that says, men and women have the same freedoms and they are equal. And then finally, of course, the whole idea of poverty, I love your bringing that in with economic development and showing the impact. One idea I had as we were talking is, and I think it was you who talked about the women who are, they're the midwives and the women who perform the services. If we could get them to understand that, how important their role is continuing something that shouldn't exist, but at the same time, make sure they have some kind of education, and them approaching the leaders, even if it's the king or the chiefs or the traditional leaders in the community. I think that group of women will be very important as we look at trying to address the challenges of FGM. So those are my final comments. Dr. Hill, thank you again.
Everyone should be leaving here learning something and knowing something that you didn't know when you came in. I want to point out too in your folders, there some information about various organizations that our Mandela Fellows are a part of. And as I say to them, we can talk about support with our mouths, but money and resources is what moves the world, right? So they have their information on here. Please take a look at these and think about the organizations that you want to support. So again, our thanks to Ambassador Mary Peters for being with us today, to Telman Hall and the great work that you're doing here. And of course, to Dr. Sheila Fleming and her wonderful panelists. And we will be keeping the conversation going. We have some African foods outside for you to partake in. So feel free to eat that. And I know some of you will be meeting with Ambassador Peters too after this. You all can actually get your food and come back in here and talk. And I think as we walk away, actually, we have a film. We're going to, we have a special goodbye from here. But again, I want to thank each of you for coming. We're in the age of social distancing and all of that. So, so let's watch this and then we will dismiss.
Hello, my name is Moni Reddy and I had the pleasure of interviewing Selena for the film that you just watched. When we went into this story, we had our own preconceptions.